Rancher solves real challenges like scattered access control, inconsistent upgrades, and complex multi-cluster operations. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to set up Rancher on Kubernetes, the enterprise-grade platform that simplifies how teams manage multi-clusters. By end of this video, you will have Rancher up and running securely with custom domains, certificates, and GitHub authentication. Let's get started. As a prerequisite, make sure you have a working Kubernetes cluster and kubectl configured. I'm currently running Kubernetes version 1.33.5. You will also need Helm 3 installed, a domain name, and ability to perform DNS changes. First, we will install nginx ingress controller to handle routing. I will use the manifest to deploy the nginx ingress controller. You can use the Helm charts. Let us check the status of the pod by running kubectl get pods -n ingress-nginx. The controller is currently up and running. Next, we need to change the service type of the ingress controller from node port to load balancer. Let's check the service by running kubectl get svc -n ingress-nginx. I'm going to edit the service ingress-nginx controller and change the service type from node port to load balancer. Let's run kubectl edit the service, the name of the service, and the namespace. Let's change the service type from node port to load balancer. Let me save the settings and enter. So let's check the service again. As we can see, we have an external IP 192.168.122.230 assigned to our ingress-nginx controller service. You need to create an A record in your domain registrar with this external IP, which resolves. In my case, I have a domain called mkbn.in, and I have created rancher.mkbn.in subdomain and created an A record with the IP ending with 230, and we can see it is getting resolved to the IP address. Next, let's install Cert-Manager, which automates certificate management. We'll use it with a private CA to issue Rancher's TLS certificates. Let me add the Helm repo, add jetstack, then we're going to run Helm repo, update, and install using Helm install, then the name Cert-Manager, and we're going to create a namespace called Cert-Manager and install the version 1.19.1 and ensure you set the crds.enable is equal to true. Let us check the status of the pods in Cert-Manager namespace, running kubectl get pods -n Cert-Manager. Wait till all pods are running before moving forward. We'll now create our own private CA and configure Cert-Manager to use it. This approach is common in air-gapped or internal enterprise clusters. Let me create a config file called ca.cnf with the following content. I'm keeping the common name as rancher-private.ca. You can change it based on your requirement. Let me save that. Generate a CA key and cert using OpenSSL. This has generated ca.cert and ca.key. Next, we need to generate a Rancher server TLS cert signed by our private CA. I'm going to do that by creating a new config called rancher csr.cnf with the following content. Make sure the common name and the DNS one matches to your domain and the subdomain which you have created. In my case, it's rancher.mkbn.in. Let me save that. Next, we need to generate a private key and a CSR. Do that by running following command. And next, you sign the CSR with your CA. Okay, we are self-signed. That is okay. Next, we're going to create a namespace called cattle system where we're going to deploy our rancher. Let me create the namespace by running kubectl create namespace cattle system. We need to create 3 secrets. One called TLSCA, the next is TLSCA additional, and the third one is called TLS rancher ingress. Let me do that by using kubectl create command. This created a secret type TLS in the namespace cattle system. Next, we're going to create TLSCA and TLSCA additional secrets. Let me run kubectl get secrets -n cattle system. We have all our required secrets. Next, we're gonna create a cluster issuer resource using the CA. That's created. Finally, we're going to deploy rancher on our Kubernetes cluster. Let me add the repo called rancher stable and run Helm repo update. In production, it is always recommended to run a stable channel rather than the latest. So I'm using the stable. Next, we're going to deploy the rancher using the following command. Let me walk you through the command. We are using the Helm install, and we're going to call it rancher with the channel stable, and we're going to deploy it in the cattle system namespace. Change the OS name, then set a bootstrap password, which you will be using to log into your UI. We are using a TLS resource as secret and define the name based on the secret name which you created. We're using nginx ingress controller, and the ingress class name is set to nginx. Our private CA is equal to set to true because we are using our private CA. Then you need to add additional flags and also set the number of replicas equal to 3, which is recommended for production. In my case, I'm going to set it to 1 since this is a demo, but in production, please go ahead and change it to 3 for high availability. Let us go ahead and hit enter. Let us check the status of the pods by running kubectl get pods -n cattle system. The container is creating. Let us also check the ingress by running kubectl get ingress in the namespace cattle system. And as we can see, we have an ingress resource. Now let's open a browser and try to access the rancher UI. I'll type rancher.mkbn.in, which is my custom domain. Yeah, you would get this not secure because this is a private CA. You need to make sure your browser trusted. So for the first time, you will see the welcome screen. We have defined a default password. If you remember, when we ran Helm command, the password, bootstrap password is set to password. I'm going to use the same and log into a rancher dashboard. This would ask you to choose the server URL. I'm going to select it because I have a custom domain called rancher.mkbn.in. Check and click on continue. This is the dashboard where we can see the cluster information. If you have multiple cluster, you would be able to see all the clusters here. You can also import existing cluster by clicking on import existing button. It supports all the major cloud providers like Amazon, Azure, and GCP. If you have some private cluster, you can also import them. Next, you can click on the cluster name, where you will be able to see the cluster dashboard with more information like number of nodes, number of deployments, and also it shows the resource utilization like CPU, memory utilization. Next, you can also go to workloads, you can check the number of deployments and other stuff. In the app section, you will be able to deploy the supported charts from Rancher. For example, if you want to install custom for backup and DR, then you can install. Next, we're going to integrate GitHub as our authentication provider. Currently, we're using username and password, which is not the safest option. You can click on the user and authentication on the left-hand side. Next, go to the auth provider. You can see most of the auth providers are listed here. For example, if you have Azure Active Directory, you can use Azure AD. You have some OAuth, like for example, GitHub or Google. You can use that. It also supports SAML integration. In this video, we're going to learn how to use GitHub as our authentication provider. Let's click on GitHub. This will provide you an option to choose whether a public GitHub or an enterprise GitHub. If you have an enterprise GitHub account, you can just click on a private installation of GitHub, then change the URL. In my case, I have a public GitHub, then I'm going to choose this. Let's click on step 1, where it will take you to the GitHub application settings in a new window. Let's do that. Ensure you already logged into your GitHub account. In my case, I have logged in. Then click on new OAuth application. You can call the app name whatever you want. I'm going to call MKBN Rancher. Then you need to define the homepage URL. If you go back to the dashboard, you will get all the information which you can copy and paste here. You can have an application description. I would say it's a private Rancher deployment. Next, the authorization callback URL, it would be the same. You can just go back and copy. Next, let's go ahead and click on register application. This would go to register an application. Next, what we need to do is, as step 3, you need to add the client ID and the client secret, which you can copy from this page. This is the client ID. Let me copy this and paste the client ID here. Then you need to generate a new client secret by clicking on generate new client secret. Let me quickly add my access code. Okay, that's done. Let me copy this secret and go back to our Rancher UI, and we'll add client secret and click on enable. You need to authorize the application. I'm going to click on authorize MKBN tech. Then that should be it. So it's saving the settings. Right, we can see the GitHub authentication provider is currently enabled. And let's click on save. That is saved. Let me go back to the home page. You can already see the logo has changed. Now it is using MKBN tech. Let me log out and show you how exactly it looks. Yeah, if you try to log back in, initially we had only the local user screen. Now we have login with GitHub. So it will basically log you in with your GitHub credential. And that's it. Now you have fully functional Rancher setup on Kubernetes with enterprise grade authentication and certification management. If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more Kubernetes and DevOps tutorial. Thanks for watching.